We're going to use implicit differentiation to find the derivative dy dx for the following function. Square root of x to the fourth plus y squared equals 5x plus 2y cubed. The first thing we would do is we want to change all of our square roots to 1/2 powers. So x to the fourth plus y squared to the 1/2 power equals 5x plus 2y cubed. Okay, now we're ready to differentiate much more easily. So when we take the derivative, the outer function here is something to the 1/2 power. So we're going to bring down the 1/2, the exponent, keep the inside or the base the same, x to the fourth plus y squared. Subtract 1 from the exponent, so 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. Now using the chain rule, we're going to multiply by the derivative of the inside function. Since this derivative is with respect to x, the derivative of x to the fourth is just 4x cubed. But the derivative of y squared is 2y, as we'd expect. But since it's a derivative of y is the dependent variable with respect to x as the independent variable, we need to put a dy dx next to that derivative. Okay, the left side is done. Now for the right side. The derivative of 5x with respect to x is just 5, but the derivative of 2y cubed with respect to x is 6y squared, and again, because this is a derivative of y's with respect to x's, we need to put a dy dx at the end. Okay, the calculus is now done. The only thing left we have to do is algebraically isolate dy dx. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the square root, the negative 1/2 exponent up here. I'm going to change this to be a fraction and a root. So this will be 4x cubed plus 2y dy dx divided by 2 times the square root of x to the fourth plus y squared equals 5 plus 6y squared dy dx. Okay. When we're isolating dy dx, our goal is to get every term with the dy dx on one side, but every term without a dy dx on the other side. So for the first part, clearing fractions is not a bad idea. Let's do that. So we've got 4x cubed plus 2y dy dx equals, and when we clear the fractions by multiplying by our denominator right here, we multiply by the denominator to both sides. I'm going to also distribute. So 5 times 2 square root x to the fourth plus y squared plus 6y squared dy dx times the quantity 2 square root x to the fourth plus y squared. Honestly, in this problem, the algebra is worse than the calculus. Okay, so let's take this equation to the next page. All right, there's the equation we need to isolate dy dx for. So let's do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to multiply the 5 times 2 on the right-hand side over here. And I'm going to multiply the 6 times 2 also there. And I'm going to subtract this term, the 5 times 2 x to the fourth y squared and a square root. I'm going to subtract that to the other side. So I'll have 4x cubed minus 10 times the square root of x to the fourth plus y squared, because it did not have a dy dx in it. Also, I'm going to take the 2y dy dx and subtract that from both sides. So I'll put that on the other side. Whoops. 2y dy dx. Okay, so that's going to give me equals 6 times 2 is 12, y squared dy dx times the square root of x to the 4th plus y squared minus 2y dy dx. Okay, we're just about done. The last thing to do, now that we've got each of these terms over on the right-hand side has a dy dx, we can treat that like a greatest common factor and factor out that dy dx. So let's copy down the left-hand side because that's not going to change. 4y cubed minus 10 times the square root of x to the 4th plus y squared equals, let's take out the dy dx. I know there are other common factors in there, but remember dy dx is the only part we want to solve for, so that's the only thing I'm interested in isolating. So we've got 12y squared times the square root, x to the 4th plus y squared, minus 2y. Okay, the very last step is to divide by our parentheses. 12y squared times the square root, x to the 4th plus y squared, minus 2y to both sides. 12y squared, square root, x to the 4th plus y squared, minus 2y. And here is what we're left with. Dy dx is equal to 4, that's an ugly 4, 4x cubed minus 10 times the square root of x to the 4th plus y squared, all over 12y squared times the square root of x to the 4th plus y squared minus 2y. And we are finished.